All right. Michael, I can mute myself and I've already started recording. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Raj. Just want to confirm that everybody's okay with the recording. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Uh, so today, VGH gender surgery scheduling requirements gathering session. I'm going to start with a territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we have the privilege of working, living, and playing on the unceded traditional and ancestral territories of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. May we recognize this honor and approach our work with honesty, compassion, and understanding. If you are working from somewhere else today, please take a moment to acknowledge those lands. The purpose today is to gather the scheduling specific requirements for VGH gender surgery clinic. We understand that we only have a clerical resource today. We'll try to get as much as we can from what I gathered. Your wealth of knowledge, QPR, and we'll get what we can. And if there's follow-ups, we'll totally keep an open communication via email to kind of button up this data collection. So today we'll step through a PowerPoint, which we're looking at now. We'll do a demo of the SPH cardiac rehab clinic in the Cerner system, so you can get an idea of what the Cerner system looks like, how those appointments work, how the requests come over. Moving forward, all of our appointments will be requested through the power chart side, and they will hit a request list queue. So we'll look at all of those, kind of the structure of that workflow. Then we'll begin our data collection for what we need in the Cerner system. So we have looked at your extracts, your appointment types in your current system. We have an Excel version of that, and we'll try to translate that into what we need going forward for the Cerner system. It may be pretty similar to what you have, or we may be rehauling it based on the need to kind of redesign for this system. So introductions, we won't go through everyone. Just want to mention myself, Michael Petamonti. I'm the application analyst, so I kind of work on the design and the build of the new Cerner system, and Raj Shah is our business analyst. Gender surgery clinic, roles within the clinic: provider, RN, a wound care nurse, social worker, clerk, physio, and for future state, no known date, but looking to have some residents involved. Clinic hours 8 to 4, some other logistics there. Clinic info receives both internal and external, mostly external referrals. Patient can be referred from external community referrals, most common, and internal VGH department, VGH emergency department provides both pre and post surgical care. Currently have a master spreadsheet for all referrals and for waitlist tracking. No known patient visits without a referral, 2 procedure rooms, 55 appointments per week. You schedule to providers rather than procedure rooms, share the area with 2 other clinics. Telephone, Zoom, and in-person. Initial appointments done with the nurse via Zoom. Next appointment is with the provider over Zoom. So before we get into the scheduling demo, that's something I want to kind of highlight here is some of the patient pathways. We just want to get a really solid understanding of a patient, the general understanding of a patient pathway. We know that these can be different based on the different procedures that you perform, and also very different for ad hoc reasons. You know, patients having issues, there's going to be more follow-up than another patient, et cetera. But can you help? Let's start with intake. We just want to solidify this. Intake, all intake is a nurse phone call. Is it after that call that they decide a Zoom call with the surgeon is going to happen, or are all 3 of these booked in advance?
No, so first they would have the intake call with the nurse, and then she would decide which surgeon they're going to go to for a Zoom call. It could be either one of the surgeons or it could be one specific surgeon. And
Got
then we make the appointments for the Zoom. And then after the Zoom, it's decided when or what process they're gonna establish to get them for in person. Sometimes there are hair removal patients, so they don't get like the in-person appointment right away. So it depends after the Zoom call.
Got it. So Zoom call, then in person gets scheduled. And so once the in person happens, surgery's deemed we're go or no go, and then we get into kind of follow up post op. Is there anything? I have some notes below, but is there anything post surgery that is happening with every patient, like a formal 6-week follow up, or how help us understand that follow up? I know again these paths can be different, but any info would be
So
great.
on top of my head, I know there's three pre-op appointments, three pre-op phone call appointments, just a month before the surgery. So one would be with the social worker,
Mhm.
and the other one would be the RN. So regarding the social worker is basically talking to the patient about the support that they might need, like after or before the surgery. And the call with the RN is something that they call the ERAS review phone call. And then there's another phone call just like 1 to 2 weeks before that the same RN does. And that one is basically pre-surgery check-in. And these are just the three pre-op phone calls that they are scheduled for. And for post-op, first one is like right after their discharge date, and that one is a phone call with the nurse. And then they have
Sorry, just 1
post-op.
second.
Sure, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
So directly after surgery, 1 week after you said, or?
So like 1 day, 1 or 2 days after the discharge. So basically the surgery happens and then the patient is discharged.
Mhm.
And then 1 or 2 days, or mostly it happens like a day after the discharge. They would have a phone call from the nurse to kind of follow up on the pain and stuff like that. And then they have follow up with the nurse. I believe it's a 2 week follow up with the wound care nurse.
Yep.
And then I think there's like weekly follow up to 4 weeks. So like second, third, and fourth week. And then there's
Second, so 2 weeks after, then third and fourth week, there's an additional typically.
exactly. But here's the thing, it varies from patient to patient.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be like third week could be a surgeon follow up. But but this is kind of the general plan for the patients, like 3 phone calls before the surgery, and then a phone call after the surgery, and then in-person wound care follow-ups. And we have to have like a surgeon follow-up as well, and that is like not right after the surgery. That can be like 3 to 4 weeks after the surgery.
Got it. And is
And
this the wound care nurse as well, or is this a different, the third
so
and the
the
fourth week?
RN so whenever I say RN, that means our full-time nurse, like
Got it.
the Amy full-time. But whenever I say wound care, that's like our wound care nurse who
Got
works
it.
like 3 days a week.
And you said in the fourth week is also an MD follow-up?
Exactly, yeah. But also I will have to get back to you on this with after I establish some kind of firm a plan with the nurse. Maybe
Yeah.
we will be able to give you like an accurate plans for the patients, but they keep on changing as depending upon the patients, and sometimes they might have complications, so
Yeah.
that can affect that as well. But like a general plan would be with a wound care nurse and the surgeon.
Got it. And so this isn't anything that we need to solidify and commit to per patient. So you don't necessarily need to get that. We just wanted a general idea of how it works after surgery. We understand that a lot of this is ad hoc and patient to patient basis. So that's totally fine. Great. Thanks for that. Physio, sorry, how does the physio come in?
So for physio, we have pelvic floor physiotherapist, and she does the like the check-ins with the patients. Uh, Sometimes they're before surgery, and sometimes they're after surgery as well. It depends upon the problems that the patient is facing. We were talking in one of the meetings, and some of the general surgery patients who like who we are not sure that they're gonna get surgery or not, they would still sometimes have pelvic floor issues, and they would sometimes they want to see the pelvic floor physiotherapist. So it's kind of like still in the gray area, because like the physiotherapist role and the appointments for social worker, they're like brand new to me. So
Yeah,
up until now, I haven't even been making appointments for them. It's just them cold calling and giving me encounters
got it.
to enter in the system. But right now it's like physio. Like I definitely know for sure for like the social worker, there's check-ins after the surgery as well. So you can write there as well for follow-up in the follow-up session as well, that the social worker checks in with them as well. But for physio, for the physiotherapist, I'm not totally sure. So I don't want to give any wrong information.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for that. Great. So we have that noted, and we'll definitely discuss that more as we get moving along into our data collection. Overview of the Cerner scheduling system. So have you been in at all or seen much of Cerner appointment book?
I like when I was trained, I did get training in Cerner, so I'm somewhat familiar, but I have to kind of get a refresher before I delve
Of
into
course.
deeper.
Of course. Okay. So overview of Cerner scheduling is here in a basically what you're seeing is a bookshelf with books on it. And on those books are our scheduling resources. So scheduling resources are can be a variety of things, from RNs to MDs to pieces of equipment, rooms, etc. They can be general, or they can be actual providers that you're booking to. And then what we build the schedules with are the actual slots, what you see down below in the yellow. And so that
Mm-hmm.
takes us and also please stop me at any point during this, and we can talk about it. We obviously don't have too many people on the line, so this is all about you and making sure you understand each little piece of this today before we do any data collection. So jumping over to the appointment book, what we're looking at is SPH, St. Paul's Healthy Heart Rehab book. In their book, so you can see their book lives on a greater bookshelf. So a bookshelf that contains a bunch of other departments. So you have cardiac case, they have the pharmacy, it looks like maybe linked to there. They have cardiac surgery. But to see their actual clinic, I click on that book. And when I click that book, I have all of the resources that are relevant to that specific clinic below. And so you can see just out of this view, there are some generic resources. When I say generic, that means not a real person. So the reason we would ever use generic is for sporadic coverage. For example, a lot of clinics will have RNs that cover randomly, in a sense that, one RN is there Mondays and Tuesdays, a different RN is there Thursday, Friday, and it's very kind of a random coverage. Well, if we don't have a solid coverage in terms of knowing which person is there which days, and it's not something that we can kind of commit to in the system, then we want to build that as a generic resource. With some of the provider booking, we book to the actual provider. They give us their schedules. We apply that. Can those schedules be changed? So if Grant Miller needed a change, yes, we could change that, but it's a request to CST for that change. So that's what we want to definitely think about before we commit to booking to the actual names of providers versus generic resources. And I'm sure you have a kind of a general idea of what would work with your clinic, and we'll get into that with the data collection. And that's, that's something we'll talk about after the demo.
Mm-hmm.
Physiologist, RN, dietitian, all generic resources. Even their MD that they're booking in this clinic, they have a floating coverage, it looks like, for their actual MD who sees the patients in Healthy Heart Rehab. So they have a generic resource for that. These two, I'm not sure what these two are, but they could be something similar. Physiatrist, it looks like there. But yeah, so actual resources, actual names, and generic. Down below are the slot types that make up their schedules. So we make up schedules to control booking of different appointment types. For this dietitian, it's a wide open slot. So any appointment that the dietitian is assigned to will be able to book down into this yellow slot. It's known as an open slot. Here, you can see different slot types. So for the physiologist, they have an intake slot assigned from 10:30 to 11:15. They have admin time in the morning, and the day is kind of slightly broken up. What would happen with this intake is this slot would be designated for new patients. So you wouldn't be able to book follow-ups into that slot without an override. It can be done, but what it does is it helps you control the amount of new patients that you're getting and keeping time reserved for those new patients. And you can see on this green slot is an exit follow-up. So they have this designated. Your design can be on a resource to resource basis, as you're seeing here. So some resources we may design to be wide open. Others we may need to have certain intake slots assigned, etc. So we'll get into that as well. Does this kind of make sense?
Yes.
Great. Okay, awesome. So jumping over to the booking process. So appointment booking can happen right here directly from the appointment tab or from the request list. Most of our booking happens via a request list. These are the orders that are placed by your providers that come to your clinic ready to be booked. So future state, rather than some resources booking directly in the system, these would come across to this request list, and a clerical resource would be the one booking these appointments. You can see there's requests for all different types of appointments here. MD follow-up, we have group appointments in there. There's a cardiac rehab intake that I just placed this morning. And from this list, right-click, complete request. I had a few other on my second screen here. There's a few questions that I'm answering, and I'll pull that over. Give me one sec. So other accept format fields that need to be filled out: is an interpreter required? Visit modality in person. So these fields these fields would have been filled out by the provider entering this order in PowerChart. So it's coming across as a cardiac rehab intake. Any special instructions would have come across. I'm going to say, okay, I just want to show you the booking process. So the booking process, if that request had specifics on when I needed to book it, they would have appeared in that window. They also appear on the request list as well. So you have requested date, you have special instructions, book on Monday, March 6th. So there's all different ways of communicating when those providers want the appointments booked. So you get that information via the order, and then we go down and we know when to book that appointment, or we could use Suggest. Suggest is a functionality, like as your schedules start to fill up, I want the system to go look for the next available slot for me. I don't necessarily want to just drag it to a known time. Suggest is going to go grab me a bunch of different options for next available appointments. So it takes into account open slot time. Like, for example, if this resource had a full schedule, Suggest isn't going to find any time with that resource. Or you're on the phone with the patient. Patient can only come on Tuesdays and Fridays. Click Suggest. There's your first available for those days. Or any other kind of restrictions. I could only come in the AM, etc. There's a lot of preferences here on Suggest as well. I have mine set to return me 30 options. A lot of resources, a lot of clerical resources only have it return it a couple at a time. We won't get too into all this. The purpose of today is to gather all of your data collection. That's the main goal. So I just want to give you a high level. You're going to learn all these different ins and outs of the appointment book before we go live.
Got it.
And so at this screen, we would click confirm and go through with finishing the booking. The confirm screen is where we associate the encounter type of pre-outpatient encounter, or we would have changed the referral encounter to a pre-outpatient encounter. And that's what that's the registration tied into the booking. Any preps would appear here as well. And that's kind of the gist of booking an appointment from a request list. What I want to show you next is the power chart side and what that looks like as they place an order. So if taking it back a few steps, if I wanted, I'm a provider and I want to book a follow-up appointment type for a patient, you can see that theirs are listed under healthy heart cardiac rehab. Our provider's going to automatically be signed in here. And how it works, how their request looks before they send it to you is this. So we in-person scheduling priority, I want it within 2 weeks. And here's the drop down for appointment requested. So here's where all of your different types of appointments that somebody can request will be listed. Used for cardiac rehab, this list is filtered down just for them. And your list will, or your clinic's list will be different. And so once they say dietitian follow-up, click sign, we should in scheduling have a new request for a patient. And there's a dietitian follow-up at the bottom. So from here, I'll take you through it one more time. Complete request. This is a window showing me, oh no, sorry. Showing me the fields that still need to be filled out. This is within 2 weeks. That's what I entered on the order. Anything else? Are there any special instructions? Nope. So I know I need to get this within 2 weeks. So we could suggest and find that time, or we can just drag it down to a slot. And if you remember with the dietitian, it was a wide open schedule. So you can see I have an intake booked to that dietitian and a follow-up. Because they're using a general slot behind the scenes, there is no designated time, so anything can kind of be booked wherever with this resource. Any questions with that?
No.
Great. So I won't finish those bookings. The next thing I want to talk about is group appointments. I know there was some interest expressed in the group appointments, or possibly something happening for group now. And group appointments work a little bit different. They get set up as sessions on your resources schedule. So let's look around. I want to show you one where it's multiple days, or sorry, multiple resources. If there's February. No, I'm not seeing one. Where did I see that? I'm sorry. There we go. So you can see that group sessions have been set up with the physiologists here down below, and group sessions are indicated with the 4 dots in the top left. They look just like confirmed appointments, other than that little icon there. And what this does, normally a slot is only designated for 1 patient, but the group sessions allow you to book up to as many patients as you want, up to the capacity that gets set for that session. So I set this session up as exercise group as the spring summer 2023 group with a max capacity of 10 patients. So what the system's going to allow me to do is book 10 patients to this one time slot under the physiologist. These sessions get managed within your clinic. So the setting up of these sessions, CST will help get those initial ones built and set up. But going forward, you kind of have hands-on management of the sessions. So a provider comes to you and says, hey, I need a new session set up for July, August. You can set those sessions up right here in the appointment book with a right-click actions, group session create, and you create those reoccurring sessions as needed. And then after that session's created, you can book multiple patients to those sessions. So that's it's an added layer of maintenance that happens within your clinic to kind of give you the hands-on ability to modify those, remove them, create them, whatever you need. Any questions with group? Tell me, are you doing any group now or looking to do some in the future?
The group sessions would be Colin. He usually would hold the group sessions, like information, like providing sessions to the patients regarding surgery.
Okay.
So, like, not me personally. I haven't been scheduling any group sessions now.
Okay.
There could be like a combo appointment, but that wouldn't come like as a group session. Every once in a while, we would have a patient who wouldn't be need to seen by 2 doctors at the same time. So
Got it.
that would be just like one patient appointment, not group sessions. The group sessions would only be something that Colin would be doing, or maybe Haley would be doing for dilation teachings and stuff.
Okay.
But that would be a question for them as to whenever they would start.
Got it. I got
Brooke,
that.
sorry, who is Colin again within your team? And what
He's
role?
the social worker.
Social worker. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. So really, that's all that we're hoping for you to understand about the appointment book today. Books, resources, appointments that go into the slots that we've set aside for those resources. That's like the big, the nuts and bolts of our scheduling design. And that's what takes us on to our next component is actually pulling out what you're doing now and having it make sense into the new system. So I'm going to jump back to the PowerPoint. Fill out the requirement spreadsheet, resource and appointment current state. And that's what we have here on the sheet. So what we're going to try to do today, we have 2 tabs here. This is just resources, and the example above is showing us, this is not relevant to your clinic. This is more relevant to what we were looking at in the demo. Schedule, what days the provider's there, any other notes that we need. We pulled this from your extract of your current system. And I also added Haley and Colin as well because they weren't in that extract. Probably why you mentioned them just now as well, that they have maybe their own system of booking. So I have them noted here. Tell me, are all of these resources relevant? Not talking generic yet, but are all of these providers relevant right now?
Yes. Sorry. So Dr. Genovese, Dr. Kavanaugh, these are the two surgeons. I am not sure about Steve Madden Newbold. I don't think that's our social worker. Colin
Okay.
and Haley are our team, and Jamie, I'm not sure who that is.
Okay.
And then I think that would be the last one. That would be for the resident, right? For any upcoming resident, the MDA, SCH, VG, SBC, that one, yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Do any of these things make sense to you? Or it looks like they were booking to some generic resources, or they were generic resources available in your current system?
So RNA and PTA bookings, like those would be the Haley bookings, and those are not done by me yet, but I'm aware of the PTA and RNA and FWA.
Okay.
So basically, whenever we book for the nurse, for that would be under RNA, like the generic RN, and then if it's social worker, that would be under generic FWA, and PTA would be for Haley.
And so based on what we were talking about before of generic and actual, what are the RNs consistent? Are we going to book to a generic RN resource, or do you see us booking to the names themselves?
Usually, like we book, like I've been booking since I started in gender surgery. I've been booking under the generic resource
Okay.
for RN. And then, like in the comment section, we would put the nurse's name, like whoever the patient saw.
Got it.
But
Can I just
like,
quickly interrupt and ask you, did you say Rachel Croy is your RN? Isn't it Amy Lowe?
no, I said that I have no idea who Rachel Croy is, so
Oh,
it's
okay,
Amy
okay.
Lowe and Melanie Bitlow.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So you said Rachel Croy, no, that's
No,
old.
I don't know Rachel Croy. That's
Okay.
not the RN that we have. I don't know.
Yeah. Again,
Is it
that
like,
was extract from your current state system, so it could have been old data that's tied into some appointments. I just wanted to make sure and get rid of what we needed to. Okay, so jumping back, you see us booking to a generic RN and also a generic wound care nurse?
So basically the wound care bookings and the Amy Lowe bookings, they would both come under RNA.
Oh, both under RNA. Okay.
Yeah, but in the comments we would say phone appointment with Amy, or we would say phone appointment with the wound care nurse, Melanie.
Got it.
Yeah.
So RNA, I'm just going to take down some RNA. Let's do it separate for now. Gen RN, VGH, Gen Surge. And I'll note over here. And then also appointments for Colin, you said are booking to, where is it?
FWA.
SWA. All right.
Yeah, that would greatly help, like to have Gen Surge RN, like generic one, and Gen Surge wound care RN, like as a generic one. So whenever we do the bookings, like just do under these two generic rather than just one generic and making the comments.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of envisioning. Okay.
And then for Colin would be like Gen Surge, like generic social worker. For Haley would be generic PTA.
So the other side of moving forward into Cerner, in terms of using actual provider names, is when the providers go into the power chart side and they go to ambulatory organizer, it's not a huge deal for them to look up a generic resource, but they also don't see that launching. It to tie to the actual name is what we recommend from the scheduling side, if that is something that's going to stay consistent. If the social worker is somebody different, every other day, or if the social workers, you don't have a consistent social worker, then we book to a generic. But typically, if Colin's your social worker designated to your clinic, we would book directly to Colin. What are your thoughts there?
I think we can, that's a good idea because with the wound care nurse and with the intake nurse Amy, it's been I think they're gonna be consistent with our clinic, so it's safe to say that for now we can have it under their names. And for Colin as well, it's safe to say that we can use the the names. And of course, I think if there was to be any change, we could just give you a call and
Yeah.
get it changed to then. But I think for now we are pretty consistent in our kind of the staff thing. Colin, Haley, Melanie, and Amy. I think they are pretty consistent. We don't get any randomness. If they're not working, then no one's gonna be working
Got it.
to replace them. It's
Got
just
it.
yeah.
And so I guess, and then looking at the two MDs, it sounds like you need to be able to book directly to the specific MD, correct?
That's right.
All right, excellent. So we'll move forward with that. I'll get the actual names built in.
Is there a possibility to have one for both the MDs combined?
One resource?
Yeah, like how it could be one for Dr. Kavanaugh or one for Dr. Genevieve, but if they want the patient to see both of them in their next appointment, would
got
be,
it.
yeah.
Combo appointments, yes. So for the design session, I have that noted here.
Mhm.
I'll design a combo appointment and show you how that works. That's totally doable. Yep.
Got it. Maybe I might be able to select 3 providers and then that may make the combo instead of having the template already in the system.
Yep. So other than the 2 providers here, who else would we book to in terms of providers?
Those are the only 2 surgeons that we have.
Okay, I thought you said 3. I'm sorry.
No, Dr. Janaway, Dr. Kavanaugh. Those are the only 2 doctors. Other than that, it's just the nurses, physiotherapist, and the social worker.
And with the combo appointment type you mentioned, would you ever need to book all at the same time, the 2 doctors and possibly a nurse all at the same time? Or when you say combo, you're just talking about the 2 providers?
It doesn't happen very often.
Okay.
So whenever it happens, it's every once in a while, and that would be 2 doctors. But sometimes what happens is there might be a minor surgery, or
Yep.
there might be a patient. Oh, I forgot to mention one of the combos. Haley and Melanie, they see patients in a combo session too.
Okay. Combo
So
for design with both providers. I'll note that as well.
mhm.
And Melanie and
Haley and
Cut. Great.
yeah, and so what we've been doing now is I'm just doing the booking for Melanie for 30 minutes, and someone from UBC is doing the booking for Haley separately.
Got it. That's
Yeah.
what I want to get into next, is the actual appointment types. So before we get over to those appointment types, what you just mentioned, the 30 minutes, what do schedules look like for the clinic? How do you envision the schedules appearing? Are we going to need certain times set aside for intake, or do you, the way things work with your clinic, you need a wide open schedule for all these resources, and you book, as needed to those times?
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but like just before we go further, I just wanted to mention that sometimes Amy and Melanie see, so like regarding the combos, I'm just kind
Oh
of
yeah.
still stuck at the combos.
Yep.
So combos could be, these are the combos that we can have: Dr. Genevieve or Dr. Kavanagh. That's one combo.
Mhm.
The other one is Melanie and Haley, as I mentioned,
Yep.
and it could be Melanie and Amy as well.
Melanie and
So
Amy. Okay.
yeah. So I just wanted to mention,
Perfect.
that it's kind of, it goes like there is a possibility. Like it doesn't happen that frequently, but there is a possibility.
Yep. And is that all post surgery typically, or is
Yeah,
it sometimes before? Okay. I was
it
just trying to,
depends. Like most of the time, like 99% of the times, it's post surgery.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm only thinking in terms of naming that appointment type. We may come up with something that is called combo follow-up, and it allows you to pick any one of these providers. And then in the second option, also let you pick any of those providers. So just have basically a drop down option where you can combo up any two providers that you need. And that's
Yeah, I
probably
think
what I'll
that would,
show you at design.
exactly. I think that would be a good idea to just have a drop down of the providers. And if I need a combo, I just select two of those providers.
Perfect.
If that makes it easier, like.
Yeah. What duration for the combos, or would you possibly need a couple different? When I say duration, I'm talking about the default. So every appointment that we book has a defaulted duration. So when I was dragging that down, you can see the intake booked longer than the follow-up, I believe it was. How
Mhm.
would you see those combos defaulting for a duration? You can change it as needed.
So
Um,
Melanie and Haley, that would always be 1 hour. So half
Always
an
an
hour
hour.
for Melanie and half an hour for Amy.
Oh, so they're not right at the same time. One comes and the other comes after.
No, basically they'll be in the same room, like assessing, but we like to assign 30 minutes to like, each one of them.
Okay.
It's kind of confusing because for now I've been like whenever I have any combo appointment for Melanie and Haley or Amy and Haley, they would be I would schedule Melanie in my PCIS for 30 minutes. And then the UBC clerk, they would schedule 30 minutes from their side.
I
But
see.
to the patients, we will be informing that it's going to be 1 hour combined appointment.
Yep.
But also, we are getting another clerk, possibly like in the next few weeks,
Mhm.
and then they would be doing the bookings for Haley and Colin. So if there was a combo appointment, they would be just doing Haley 30 minutes, and then I would be doing 30 minutes from my end. Does that
Gotcha.
make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. And regarding the doctors, it really depends. Sometimes it depends upon the timing. Sometimes if it's Dr. Genoway, her slots are always 30 minutes.
Hmm.
So if it's Dr. Genoway's primary patient, but Dr. Kavanagh is working that day as well, then we would just put in that 30-minute time slot. But if
Hmm.
it's Dr. Kavanagh's primary patient, and Dr. Genoway is just popping in to kind of it could be like 15 minutes, like both of the providers will see. But I would say like at least 30 minutes just to be safe. Um, yeah, at least 30 minutes. But
So
it really depends. Sometimes they would have instructions saying,
yeah.
hey, just make 15 minutes for this combo. Like we have other patients coming in and we can't spend more than 15 minutes.
Yep.
So it really varies for them.
Okay. So for design, I'll default the combo of the providers to 30, and then the other resources I will make an hour if there's combination.
Got it.
And we'll have a look at it from there. We can obviously rehash it once we look at it and see it in the system.
Got
In terms of the schedules, okay, so after combo appointment types, let's talk schedules. Do you keep a designated schedule for everybody, or in current state is it wide open?
So for the nurses, it's like wide open. Like for nurses, we have everyday templates opened, like with slots in there.
Yep.
But
And
for
is
the
there
doctor,
a break for lunch at a certain time?
yeah, it's 12 to 1.
Okay. Perfect. And the doctors?
For the social worker, right now he works Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
And for the wound care nurse as well, she works Mondays, Wednesday, and Friday. But the wound care nurse, it's coming under the generic RNA schedule, so I'm not sure if that makes any difference.
That they're coming in, sorry, to do what?
So wound care nurse works Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, but whenever I do the bookings for wound care, it just comes under the generic. So
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
we are not creating like a separate template for her. So that's
Got
what
it.
I was.
And so going forward, if it's a broken out resource, we might as well design it with just Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you could force book to other days as needed. Is that okay? Or do you want it wide open?
Yeah, that would be very helpful because I'm not sure about they were planning to get Melanie like full time. I'm not totally sure, but it was in the discussion. So having it like wide open would be like less time consuming for the both teams.
Okay. I guess the only reason the negative for having it wide open and that resource not actually being there on Tuesday, Thursdays is the threat of somebody just casually booking to Tuesday, Thursday. But if you're the only person booking, then there's no real worry for that because you know when to book. Or you just don't
I think
apply.
that
You don't apply Tuesday, Thursday, and then you could force book Tuesday, Thursday if you need to, which is kind of usually recommended.
Yeah, I think you're right because here's the thing. I'm like I think there's gonna be changes in clerical staff a lot.
Mhm.
So I would say whatever you suggested is the right thing.
Okay.
To have Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for Melanie, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for Colin. And I'm not totally sure about Haley's schedule, but I think it's the same for Haley, like Mondays and Wednesdays, but I have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
For Amy, it's Monday to Friday.
Or we'll follow up. Confirm days. Amy, Monday through Friday, and
Exactly.
the MDs.
They just give us random dates.
So just make it wide open, essentially.
Right now, like in the PCIS, we like whenever they give us a schedule, like before that, nothing is open. Whenever they give us a schedule, we go to the PCIS and open the schedule for those specific days.
Gotcha.
In order to kind of avoid the confusion.
Yeah.
But I don't think the expansion or anything is something that we are going to be doing in Cerner. So I think it would be best to have like wide open, like
Yep.
yeah.
How often do you get that kind of assignment from them? Like, is it a quarterly? Here's what it looks like for the next 3 months, or how does that? Just to get an idea for how it works now.
They haven't been very consistent on giving us the schedule, so it comes like very randomly. Like I just got like last week I got for up to June,
Mhm.
but then they keep on changing. So the next week they could change it. So
Okay.
it's really very inconsistent, and that's something that we are trying to work on.
Yep.
But yeah, but also I wanted to mention like 12 to 1 is the lunch hour. That's common for, I think, for all the providers. But for Dr. Kavanagh and Dr. Genoway and for Colin, there are some times that we would need to have like as block times, like administrative times.
hmm
I don't have them on top of my head, and I can't access them from this computer because my PCS is in the other computer. Otherwise, I could have just looked at that and given you those times. But there are times that we would need to block, like as the administrative time.
hmm And so there's a couple options for that. We can build that into the schedule, as you would see here. Admin's built into the schedule, and that's hard coded. Obviously it can change if you send a request to CST, hey, that admin needs to go away. That's no longer part of our schedule. This is something that's kind of solidified into the schedule. There's also the ability to add that kind of stuff on the fly on your end, doing blocks or adding slots. So you can add slots here that you could go through and add admin slots to certain days, or you could block off different parts of days using what's called a block appointment type. So there's a lot of things that you can do. The one thing to think about though is as you start managing more of that yourself, it's a very much a manual process to get blocks and to get admin added this way. If it's something that it's going to be consistent, it's best to get us to put that into the schedule like you're seeing here. But
Exactly. So I
if
think it
not,
is sorry. With the doctors, it's going to be consistent because
okay.
I've been working here since November and
Uh-huh.
it has never changed. Like the admin times, they never change
Yeah.
for doctors. For
What?
call-in,
Oh, I'm
sorry,
sorry.
go ahead.
What time for the doctors?
I have to get back to you
Oh,
on
okay.
that one.
No
Yes.
worries. Admin.
And then for Colin, I know he works 10 to 11 and 1 to 4 whenever he's here.
10 to 11 and 1 to 4.
That's right.
Okay. Let me just put that in here. Admin 1 to 4. All right.
So I just wanted to confirm, so when you say 10 to 11 admin, I just want to make sure that 10 to 11 is the open space for booking and not the admin time.
That's the admin time. That would be like this gray box. I was doing open 8 to, in this case, open would be Monday, 8 to 10 a.m. based on your schedule of when your clinic opens. And then admin 10 to 11, and then another slot of open 11 to 12, lunch 12 to 1. However you want it. Just, yeah.
I think that it's the other way around.
Okay.
8 to 10 is like right now, 8 to 10 is a block time, like admin time.
Got it.
And then 10 to 11 is the open slot.
Got it.
And then 11 to 12 is the lunch hour.
Yep.
And then 1 to 4 is another open spot.
I see.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let me get rid of this lunch here.
And then for Haley, I'm not sure because I haven't been doing her bookings. We did expand her schedule, so I can give you that template like in the next meeting. Like how call-ins sometimes are blocked, her times are blocked too some of the times.
Yep.
And then for Dr. Genevieve, I will provide the admin blocks, and for Haley, I will provide the admin blocks, and for Amy, I think it's just the lunch hour that we're good for that. For wound care also, it's just the lunch hour that's a block.
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then group you mentioned was just Colin or Haley. Was that correct? Or do you have
like
any?
the group sessions?
Yeah.
with multiple patients. So those are like Colin still does the Zoom sessions,
Mhm.
like the information sessions to the patients. Uh, so that like I'm not sure how to answer that because that's something that Colin organizes. So like they haven't been getting organized from me, like
Yep.
from my
Yep.
side. It's some other clerk organizing for him, or he would do it himself. And now, like going forward, some other clerk that we're gonna be getting for Colin, they are
Mhm.
gonna be doing it. But there is gonna be group sessions for Colin.
So for the design session, I'm going to show one, and we're going to definitely want to have them involved in that design session.
Mm-hmm.
For that design session, should I show it to where we can just set it up for Colin, or is there potential for Haley as well?
Haley, I know about the dilation teachings, that she was planning on doing, taking some extra time for that.
Mhm.
But I can get in touch with them and, we
Yeah.
can plan something.
Okay. I'll, and this again, just to show them what it looks like and show them the functionality. We have the ability to tweak our design after that session. So we'll be able to change our data and change the build. So we won't be committed. This is just very preliminary.
Mm-hmm. Also, it would be very beneficial to basically, once we are done, like, doing the basic requirements gathering to, like, once we've, like, done the, like, finalizing for them to
Mhm.
kind of have a look in one of the meetings so
Yeah.
that they can confirm.
So after today, uh, you think it would be helpful to get everybody together for an hour and look at this before we do anything with it, you mean?
Yeah, or I can just, like,
Pass an email.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
But
So,
honestly, like meeting would be better because they would have like they would have things to add, and
mhm.
I know they are gonna have things to add. And I don't think the email is gonna be like a better way of communication
Yeah,
rather than the meeting would be just kind of
yeah,
efficient.
we'll try to set something up.
Cool.
Melanie, Colin. Would that be Melanie, Colin, RNs as well, or how do you see that if we were to get another quick one together?
Uh, Melanie, like from the nurses side, Amy alone, and
Mhm.
for Colin and Haley, um, and I would say like if we were just talking about the like just this spreadsheet that we are like working on, I
Mhm.
would say like a minimum like 30-minute session would suffice.
Mhm. Okay,
So me, myself, uh, Amy, Colin, and Haley.
got it. And so how we'll approach that is we'll type up what we're gathering today, and I'll send an
Yeah.
email that summarizes what we talked about, and so that will kind of be a flag to them that, hey, no, we definitely need to talk about this, and we'll instigate the call that way, and just kind of preface it that we do need to get together quickly to talk about this sheet before we start any build. Again,
Exactly.
our next formal session, the design session, we have the ability to change after that, which we'll need them included in that session, but ideally we're doing what we need to do before that design session. The more we can do, the better. Obviously, we're try to get it done as
So
quick as possible.
yeah, I think that's a good idea
Okay.
to send them an email, and if they have anything to add, we can then organize a meeting. But if they agree to whatever this, like whatever we have discussed, then I think we can just skip the meeting and then go on with the design session.
Okay. I have the tab for appointments, but I want to talk about the appointments here before we get into the appointments. So the appointments that we pulled from your current system, it looked like all of these were available to book. New patient of all different durations, and repeats are the main ones that stand out. And so do you, in Cerner, as you could see when we booked each appointment, there's a default duration for every appointment type for every resource. So that, what I'm saying there is, if I had a dietitian new appointment type, I have to tell the Cerner system that it's going to be a 30-minute appointment for the new, and I'm going to tell the system that it's going to be a 15 for the follow-up. Can we change that as needed? Yes. You can change at the confirm, you can change using the schedule button to modify durations, but we have a default duration for every appointment. Each resource can have their own setup. I guess what I'm trying to figure out here is, what were all of these being used, or does your current system just assign these to everybody, and typically your Colin is typically using a 60, and only, you know, one in 100 would you ever use the 15? Or sorry, Colin wasn't in this system. That's a bad example, but what drives the different durations in your current booking?
So, like whenever we do the schedule expansion in PCIS,
Mhm.
for Dr. Genevieve, we would have all the 30-minute slots. So basically, for Dr. Genevieve, we would need 30-minute slots. But then also, we would need to be able to fit two patients in that 30 minutes. So for 1 o'clock, we would need two patients. For 1:30, we would need two patients. So
Got it.
basically, some possibility to kind of, add two patients in one spot, but the intervals are 30 minutes.
Got it. So I think I saw something like that in one of these books that I could show you. Like here, this provider has 2 slots. Disregard this open, but this provider has 2 slots there. You see everything being booked for 30 with the potential to be able to double book.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's something that we would, yeah.
Okay.
But also, like there is some rare cases when she would be like, oh, triple book me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
she would be like, bring 3 patients at this slot. So I'm pretty sure we can just do customized and not have it in the template, but I'm sure there's another way to kind of do that manually.
It's in override. Any outside
Got it.
slot booking, it's just you click the schedule button and you tell it what time you want, and basically you get one extra window that says, you know, this isn't a valid time, and you click override. But you do
Got
want
it.
the 2 to not be
Yes.
override? Okay,
Yeah, I want to be like built in, and then the third, I mean, I can override.
got it. And how
And
about
for
Kavanaugh?
Dr. Kavanaugh would be 15-minute slot, but he sees one patient in that 15-minute slot.
Okay. And that's for new or follow-up? I guess the
Uh,
wording is for intake versus, or not
so doc,
intake, but
so this is kind of, so whenever they see the new
Mhm.
patients are always seen, like 95% of the new patients are seen via Zoom.
Mhm.
So the Zoom call is the one where they become the new patients, and the Zoom calls are always 45 minutes.
Got
So
it.
I think we are gonna go ahead with having 15 minutes for just like a regular schedule interval.
Mhm.
But then if we were to put a Zoom for Dr. Kavanaugh, I think then we would be overriding, like not overriding, we would be just custom writing 45 minutes, right?
Well, that's the beauty of the new system, is when you go to book you go to book the intake to that provider, we can have it already defaulted to 45 to take up. We could have it defaulted to take up 45 minutes in this slot, and then every other appointment just take up 15.
Got it. So yeah, so the Zoom calls are always going to be 45 minutes, but like in general, we would need like 15-minute slots for Dr. Kavanaugh.
Okay, so we'll say 15-minute for the
Mhm.
follow-ups and then 45 for new.
Right, and that goes the same for Dr. Genevieve for the new ones, 45-minute new.
Okay, 45-minute Zoom new.
Exactly.
Tell me, I may be prying here, but is there any reason, because this kind of functions the same, 15 minutes with one slot versus 30 minutes with two slots, or are we going to cause a big stir if we try to get them on the same page?
No, I
Okay.
mean they're pretty like I don't think they would care that much as long as they're getting the amount of patients that they want in their particular duration.
Yeah.
So basically, if Dr. Genevieve, if we change it to 15-minute slots, but just one patient
Mhm.
per that 15 minutes, I don't think she's gonna be like she's gonna have some like
Yeah.
thoughts
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
this. But like I would still check with them. I'm not totally sure.
Do you want to check with them, just to be sure? It's basically the Cerner system's telling the patients the exact time of when to be there. If that provider wants both patients arriving at the same time and actually wants both patients being there for 30 minutes, then that's what we build. If realistically it makes more sense for appointment reminders to be telling
Exactly.
patients every 15, um, you know, whatever makes the most sense to you. So I'll leave that as a follow-up for you.
Exactly.
We'll leave it
So
like this for
maybe,
now.
yeah, so maybe like whenever we do that follow-up with Amy,
Mhm.
we can bring it up to her
Okay.
and then we can see what we can do about it.
Yep. It's not a huge deal. It's just, it goes in line with like not wasting,
Yeah, I
it like,
totally understand, and that was my initial thought on it as well when I saw it for the first time, like rather than having 30 minutes one slot and
mhm.
one patient coming and waiting for 15 minutes when they were given like 1 o'clock time and having them at 1:15. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Jumping down to Colin, what it would be the default duration for the appointments?
I believe Collins were 30 minutes, but also sometimes he does 15-minute and 45-minute as well. But let's do 30 minutes for like just a
Default.
regular
Okay.
template, and then 15 and 45 if we need, then I can just custom select, and then rest of the slots would be 30 minutes, right?
Yep. Okay. And Haley.
Haley, I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Okay. I need a word that's gonna note follow up and not follow up, because that looks like an appointment name. TBD.
Yeah.
How about that? Amy.
So right now in our schedule, it's been expanded as 15-minute slots, but if she needs to see new patients, those are 30 minutes.
Mhm.
And sometimes the calls she makes can go up to 45 minutes as well.
Okay, so we'll
So
default
I
30.
would say 30 minutes new, 15 minutes just the regular template,
Mhm.
like the general template.
Yeah.
And then she can have like, I would need something that would let me make an appointment for her for 30-minute or 45-minute as well to kind of have that flexibility. But for now, in general, we would have 15-minute slot. That's good.
And that 15, so this would be the 30, the intake first, or and
Exactly.
then these calls here would be 15.
Uh, one of them is 15 and one of them is 30. The 1 to 2 weeks before, that's a 15-minute phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one which is uh,
Here.
the one above it, it's like a month before, and that is a 30-minute phone call.
30-minute call. Okay.
And the social worker, that is a 45-minute phone call.
Social worker needs new. Got it. So the intake, so 45-minute.
Oh,
So we noted 45 for pre.
pre-op, yeah.
All right.
And then for Amy, it's 30-minute new intake and 15-minute like just a regular follow-ups and regular template. We would like to have that one.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 45-minute calls sometimes, because sometimes the intake that could go up to 45 minutes. So
But when you're booking in advance, you wouldn't, unless she
exactly,
noted it, you would normally book at 30, right?
exactly.
Okay. Got it. So, and then Melanie, wound care appointments?
Melanie sometimes have for Melanie as well, like have 15 minutes as a general time, like in the schedule, 15-minute slot. But I would it would be good to have like the options to be able to go for 30 minutes and 30 minutes.
30.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just noting this down. I'm going to come up with some kind of creative options for if we want more than just a default in using override, or do we need different appointments of different durations? And so I'll show you a couple different things once we get on our next session.
Got it.
Do you know how long those groups typically are booked for?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's something that we can
No.
follow up with Colin.
Okay.
And I'll take a screenshot of this at the end, then follow up with them. And
Yeah.
then of course we'll follow up with them via email as well.
Yep. The other thing I noted here on appointment types. So in current state, it sounds like, just looking at wound care nurse as an example, in current state, what does it look like in your system to designate the different things that are happening? For example, catheter removal, drain, the different types of things that could happen. Is that just noted somewhere?
I just mentioned it in the notes,
Okay.
like catheter removal or drain removal or 1 week follow-up or 2 week follow-up,
Mhm.
or it could be complication, like new complication or a follow-up on the complication that they might have.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So I just mentioned it in the comments, but
Going forward, it may make sense to have them as actual appointments.
exactly, yes.
And so
But
what I was going to
I
say with that is we just in case we do decide that that's what we need to do, is build separate appointments for all of this. Can you create a list of all those different options?
sure.
Or should I type that up now? We can definitely just type it up here. Or do you
Yeah,
want to take it away and go ahead?
right now, the thing with my clinic is like we have tons of backlog, which
Yeah.
we are trying very hard to kind of, so I think this, like if I take this as a homework, it's just gonna like pile up and we
Yeah,
won't
of
get to get it.
course.
So the catheter removal.
So let's just go. I'm going to pull over these resources really quick. So if we look at wound care, We have appointment name of catheter removal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But either one of the nurses can do it. Like it doesn't have to be Melanie. It can be Amy as well. So it can fall under both of their category.
Got it. Okay.
Or we can have drain removal. I'm not sure if this is the same thing, but we do get the drain removal appointment.
Can go to either of them.
Yes.
Oops. All right. Default duration for those. I mean, I'm just looking, is that 15 for both?
Yeah, let's do 15, but I can discuss with them. Usually it takes 15 minutes for catheter removal, but sometimes the patients, they could have a complication with the catheter,
Mhm.
and that could take some time. But usually it would be a 15-minute would suffice, yeah.
Okay. And you said, is there another wound care basic that we need to create? I know there's follow-up for the RNs, but do we need a generic that covers other types of procedures or complications? Or no?
Regarding the procedures, the two that are most common are like catheter removal and drain removal.
Okay.
There are some others, but those are not as common. So like I don't like type up those.
Hmm.
Other than that, it's just the wound care follow-up and wound care phone calls, like stuff like that. That's what I write in the comments, like wound care follow-up. WOCN follow-up,
Wound care follow-up. Yep.
right? And it could be um, the follow-up with Amy. That's what we write for Amy
RN
follow-up.
follow-up.
Exactly.
Could that
RN follow-up
base
and
could
wound
that
care.
basic RN follow-up be booked to either provider or just Amy? Oh, wound care follow-up would suffice for that.
Exactly. Wound
Okay.
care, but also like I usually write 1 week or 2 week or like however many weeks. But I think if we have just this general like wound care, and then I can in the comments I can write 1 week follow up on it. I'm not sure how that would work if it was to be a 1 week follow up.
Yeah, it just comes down to, let me look at these, show you some appointments booked. Let's go back to last fall. Oh, this would be a long time before then. VGH. That's not going to work. No. So it comes down to, here's an appointment booked, cardiac rehab intake. Do you need to see it as an appointment type name on that resources schedule that it's a 1 week follow-up versus a 2 week? Or does it suffice to just have the follow-up listed and then in the comments you're noting which one it is if needed?
I guess that would be the better option, because sometimes like it's like very like it's not regular. Like sometimes they could,
Got it.
it doesn't happen like like on a consistent basis. Like
Okay.
we would have like 1 week follow-up or 2 week follow-ups. So I can definitely add those in the comments.
Yep.
But to have like in that like the book, just to have like wound care follow-up would suffice.
Great.
But like right now in the PCIS, what we've been seeing is wound care 1 week follow-up, or right, like RN 1 week follow-up. But if we do get that, wouldn't that be like a lot of options for you guys to like
Yes.
make?
Yeah. It, especially from a requesting side, from the ordering side, there would be a lot of options in the drop down, in this power chart drop down, which you don't necessarily want to put you don't want to have to hard code it. If you want to keep things general, which it sounds like things are a bit more generalized, you would just leave it as a follow-up and then special note in the comments as needed if you needed to know it's the 1 week or the 2 week.
Got it. But like if it is not that big of a task for you guys, like that would definitely like kind of make things easier for me, like to have that 1 week or 2 week or 3 week added in there, like instead of just general wound care follow-up, is there a possibility to make like a drop down where it says 1 week wound care follow-up or 2 week wound care follow-up or 3 week wound care follow-up? If it is like if it's gonna like increase the requirements for you guys, then I'm totally okay with that. But like if it's something that's doable
I'm
and
just,
just as a drop down.
it's totally doable, in terms of the tech on getting it in there. I'm just trying to think through it in my head for a second here. So provider placing the order is going to designate via a drop down that this is the 1 week or the 2 week or the 3 week. And you also want that to come over and then on the request list appear as this is my 1 week follow-up, RN follow-up, or a 2 week wound care follow-up. I'm just trying to picture.
So that would definitely help me. Like for example, these are all the providers giving their orders, right? So the MD follow-up, if you see MD follow-up, it would like help me a lot if it said MD follow-up in 2 months. Let's say if it said
So
to book in 2 months, it
that
would.
let me before you go any further, I just want to show you how that looks in the system. So that's all done. And as I hear you talk about this more, that's all done through the requesting priority. So that's already a hard-coded option here.
Got it.
So this is the best way. And then when you get it on the request list, you have that as a column. So
Got it.
next available, and all these are customizable. So these columns can be moved left or right based on what you need within 2 weeks, 72 hours, etc. So we don't want to, after talking about it more, it doesn't sound like we'd want to do anything extra with appointments.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
Okay. Jumping back to appointments. So does this suffice for your RNs? No, it does not. We have the initials as well. So we have the intake. Yeah.
Intake with RN
is a 30
minute, yeah. And then
those other pre-calls.
Zoom is a pretty like standard one that we have, Zoom appointment.
You have the 30-minute phone before the 1 to 2 week before.
And that we can write as 30-minute pre-op call or something like that.
30-minute pre-op. And this is a 15 pre-op. Okay, so we have pre-op calls.
Or we can just pre-op call from RN.
Yeah, I'll come up. I'll scan the system to see what makes the most sense in terms of appointment naming from RN. And these are, one is 30, one's 15 as a default. Okay. The two providers, they have
Zoom calls.
This 45-minute Zoom. Does it make sense to have those called intake as well? Or are they just new patient Zoom?
I think it would be best to write Zoom in there instead of the intake.
Okay, so
Initial Zoom call. We can just write initial Zoom call. 45.
Okay.
Yes. And then
And
the phone call, follow-up phone call appointment with the doctors. That's one of
MD
the other
follow-up.
phone call.
15, 30 and
Yes.
15.
Yeah, but 15 would be like usually it's 15, but we can do 30 as well.
But Genoway has 30 doubled up,
Yeah,
right?
he has 30-minute slots, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we have phone calls with the wound care and the RN.
Are those post that you're
Those
talking
are
about
the
now?
in-person.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I mean, yeah, we can I mean, I was like, when you wrote wound care follow-up and RN follow-up, I was just mostly kind of thinking about the in-person
Mm-hmm.
and not phone call. So I'm not sure if you wanna include separate options for phone call, or should we go
Well,
like,
again, thinking about the structure of the design, is also broken out via visit modality field. So we have
got
one
it,
appointment type, and then the type of appointment is noted
got it,
here.
got it, got it. No, yeah, you're right. Like sometimes I might say some things, which might not make sense. So make sure, like, feel free to correct me on these.
Oh,
So
no,
I think
no,
that would
great.
be,
Yep. Great. I
so I think,
appreciate it.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm noting this for the initial Zooms as well as the MD follow-up. What I come up with for the design session after Raj and I kind of sift through all this and we make your data collection sheets isn't going to look exactly like this. The design session is going to be us taking these notes and then, after another hour call that we meet with everybody else and then formalizing it from here. So there's time. MD follow-up, and then let's grab Colin and Haley as well. And Colin has 45-minute pre-surgery call and then a 30-minute default. Oops. Pre-surgery, pre-op call. $45.
Mm-hmm.
And then just follow-up, SW follow-up.
That could be 30-minute, yeah.
Okay. And then physio.
And
TBD on Haley.
exactly.
Okay.
Michael, on the pre-op call, do you want to add the SW in front of that one? Because then it'll be too confusing. You'll have too many pre-op calls. Because there's one
Yeah.
from the RN as well.
Yeah, it's gonna all be tweaked after we get off the phone here.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to have a double check on this one. Catheter removal with wound care, or can be with Amy. Drain removal. So drain removal can be with Melanie or Amy, and then there could be wound care follow-up. There could be RN follow-up. There could be intake and pre-op phone call from Amy, and wound care follow-up and Amy's phone follow-ups can be included in the upper ones, so that's good. And then we have initial Zoom for Kavanaugh and Janaway, and then MD follow-up on phone, both of them. And MD follow-up in person would be in the same category like we were talking about in the power chart.
Yeah, I think I'll just take the word phone off of this.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, we should be good. That these are like most of the appointments that are in my mind as of right now.
Okay. Great. Again, get this into a proper data collection, get some of it built, and then we'll address any gaps as well during design session.
Mhm.
Resource templates. I think we got enough here to go on, and I'll get these two tabs in sync, get it to make more sense in a formal format, and take it away from there. Jumping back to PowerPoint. We did resources and appointment. So here's a learning resources, fellows, residents, and med students involved. There's future talk of residents, correct?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay. And so that'll be something I have it noted here. Future state will be residents. We won't build that in now. Once, if that comes to fruition before we go live, it'll be something that we need to kind of integrate into our design. So something to keep on our radar.
Yes.
Research, do research teams use your space for appointments, or do you just have research patients floating through the clinic at all?
What do you mean when you say research patients?
Clinical trials.
No, it's
Okay.
for us, it's just the lower surgery patients.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought Dr. Kavanaugh, in our last meeting with him, I think he did say that there are some research patients, and I remember there were forms related to research. So that's all the information that I got from him. Not
Okay.
necessarily clinical trials, but yeah.
So that one, you guys can follow up with Dr. Kavanaugh in
Will
the next
do.
session, but yes, so but like up until now, we haven't had any like clinical trial patients or stuff like that.
Okay.
Maybe before I started, before November 2022, they might have had some, but not since November up until now. But that would be something, if they're thinking about like including this in the future, that would be a question for the doctors then.
From your understanding, though, it sounds like there isn't any time set aside for that in schedules. Okay.
Exactly, no. Like I don't make any appointments
Yep.
for any clinical trial or research patients.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to jump back to this as our last topic, preps and appointment reminders. Let's get through the rest of this PowerPoint, and we have some questions around reminders. So wait lists. What application is the tool in? It's an Excel file on your G Drive currently.
Right.
What information is captured in the tool, like for that wait list? Is it all of the info that you need to get that patient booked, or is it very basic currently?
No, I think we have a very detailed like spreadsheet. So of course the demographics, the PHN, date of birth, email address,
Okay.
first name, last name, and also we have the surgery that they want to get and
Surgery
whoever
type.
referred them to us,
Okay.
referring provider.
Referral.
And then we have
Yep. Got it.
and then we have the comment section to, make comments in there.
Yep. Great. And that falls in line with our wait list as well. Sorry, I'm gonna have to clear my throat here. I'm gonna mute. All right. That didn't seem to help. Made it worse. We have a couple of sick kids at home. Current number of patients on a wait list. I know the number was big, but what's the ballpark on that?
I can't say the exact number, but like upwards of 200,
Okay.
but like below like 500. But this is something that we can definitely
Yeah.
get you, like,
The ambulatory one had like 400 to 500. That's what they had said on that one.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then really quick, take us through priority one more time, based on this type of surgery as well as timing of referral received. So you are looking at the referral received date. You're first looking at surgery type. and determining, is it urgency on that type of surgery or is it provider availability? How do you, like, what does the surgery tell you in terms of priority?
So urgency comes into the consideration when it's an internal referral. Like if it's a consult note from the VGH ER department,
Mhm.
or if it is something that Dr. Kavanaugh's private office faxes us, like
Got it.
Dr. Kavanaugh's private secretary or Dr. Genevieve's private secretary, they fax us something. That's when they would mention the priority in that one.
Yep.
So
Or
there could be some upper surgery that Dr. Genevieve might have done, and then there might be a complication, and then they would say, hey, book this on priority
it.
basis.
got it.
So those are kind of miscellaneous whenever it comes to priority, but
Mhm.
whenever it comes, if it's if it's just a regular referral, they'll get put into the wait list, and then we will call them whenever their name comes up on the top of the wait list.
Got
And
it.
then how we process the wait list is according to whatever they are asking us. So if they're asking, hey, we are running low on low depth vaginoplasties, so can you book more intakes on that one? So I'll go to that procedure, low depth vaginoplasties, and start from the top of that procedure to book for intakes.
I see. Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we mentioned multiple wait lists. We can discuss this further into design, but do you do any type of like in your current wait list, do you do any type of like shuffling around to break down the priorities because of such a high volume? Or are you managing more than one list, or does it make sense for everything to fall into one list?
Uh, so there's one general master
Mhm.
list,
Okay.
which has all the patients, like 95% of the patients that come into our clinic.
Right.
And then we have other lists in the same sheet, and those would be the current OR patients, uh, or that would be the surgical wait list, or that would be our surgical wait list. So once the patients are closer to surgery, they are put in the current OR list,
Mhm.
and then that's basically our surgical wait list. And then we would have for separate procedures, we have separate lists.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how often the nurses update the surgical wait lists, but those are definitely there. Like the phalloplasties, vaginoplasties, Zephyr, and then we have metodioplasty. Like all of these lists,
Yeah.
along with the one big list. I'm not sure if they're updated very regularly, but they're there.
Okay. That takes me back to what we were just collecting. All these appointment types. I noted there's nothing noted here on the type of patient that we have. So nothing in the appointment book is going to tell me the type of surgery that the patient is involved in or the type of patient they are. You mentioned those 4 or 5 types of surgeries. Is that going to be okay? And how are you doing that in your current state? Are you noting that in special comments, or are you not noting that at all? And then it's referenced in the patient's chart and that is dealt with from the provider side.
No, actually, thank you for bringing up this point. We actually write the surgery first, and then we write whatever. For example, if it's a phalloplasty 1 week wound care follow-up,
Mhm.
in the comments I would write PHA as in phalloplasty, and then semicolon 1 week follow-up with wound care. So that's how we would word it.
Got it.
So it would definitely help to have kind of those kind of options in there, but that would, but again, that would be um, like a bigger drop down, you know.
Definitely. That
Uh,
it would be a bigger drop down. It could also potentially be another drop down from this side, but
mhm,
that's putting pressure onto whoever's ordering these. So providers, RNs, whoever's using this and requesting appointments with you would have to
mhm,
select that every time.
mhm. I
Either
think,
go ahead.
but for the sake of like clarity and accuracy, I would say it is something that's worth doing. Like
Yeah,
that's what I believe,
yeah,
because that would make things like easier and quicker for everybody.
right.
Because like there are sometimes patients who have who has had like an upper surgery in the past, but we don't do the upper surgery now. But and whenever we go to their chart, there could be two surgeries mentioned in there, like a hysterectomy or a vaginoplasty. And then I would be thinking, okay, what is this visit for? Is it going to be
Right,
for
right.
the past surgery or the one that we are like currently proceeding? So I would say it's definitely helpful to have that procedure included in there.
So that's definitely going to be something that um, Raj, myself, and the rest of the people on this call will take away and come up with something for design.
Mm-hmm.
Procedure on order. Otherwise, it's just coming across, no reference to what type of patient you have. There could obviously be something in special instructions, but that's also pressure on whoever's ordering these to type that every time,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't ideal. This list could just grow. This could be a long list. So whatever appointments we talked about times 4 or times 5, whatever you mentioned in terms of the types of surgeries that you do, but we'll come up with something. We'll get our heads together on that.
Mm-hmm.
Raj, does our call end in 5 minutes or
It does, yeah.
technically? Okay. All right. So let me jump over here for
And this
order.
is something we can probably discuss with the other staff as well. I can bring it up to them to
Yeah.
see if we need to include that or maybe make a different like option, whenever they're placing the order to have like a different option there to select the type of surgery
Yeah.
rather than the sub drop down from the main drop down. I'm
Right.
not sure how that would be.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
Cutover prep really quickly. I just have a few things that we want to try to talk about before these few minutes are up. Approximate number of appointments. So like if we took a snapshot today going forward, how many appointments are currently booked, not waitlisted, but booked?
Uh, I would say between 50 and 100.
Okay.
Like 50 to 100, yeah.
And how far out does that go?
That would go up to April.
Okay. So you're only booking that far out.
Yeah.
April. End of April
Yes.
or okay. And this is just general. This gives us an idea for when we go to do cutover, how that's going to go.
Exactly. It's just that, like this isn't ideal. Like usually we would have um like nurse appointments are booked like right away, but the doctor's appointments sometimes we have to base our decisions on whenever the
Yep.
schedule gets expanded and stuff like that. So
Right. Of automated appointment reminders. So the reminders that go out with all of our appointments, we quickly talked about it on the last session, and you answered a few critical things for us to get this moving. You said 3 days. We're going to send it. You want phone, email, and text, and all appointments to be included. The few things that I would like to gather here is who would be the main contact for AAR at your clinic? Because basically a report goes out to show what patients got reminders and what failed, et cetera. Who would be best to get that report to? Would that be you or more managerial or?
When you say report, like,
It
do you mean
emails
like,
out, yeah, it emails out a report that shows all the patients that did receive reminder calls, or if there were fails, um, if it didn't go through for various reasons. I'm not too in tune with what that report entails, but like who from your clinic would be interested in that type of data? It's a daily email.
um, usually I don't think anyone would be interested in that, but like if we were to fill it out, I mean, it would be nice for me to have that kind of
Okay.
report to see if anything failed. So
Okay.
definitely me, but like I'm not sure if any other managerial staff would be interested.
Okay. I'll put you down. I'll put your email and phone number
Mm-hmm.
in this. And then the other thing is, and this may be something that you have to take away, but what type of information outside of here do you need to go out with the call? So what you can see is, hello, this is your clinic, the appointment date, there's some COVID messaging, visit modality specifics, so Zoom, in person, all that stuff is hard coded into the system. It's this one that allows you to put anything else into the prep that goes out, into either the phone or the email that goes out. What other wording would you want in your reminder call system? And again, we're out of time. So if you want to take this away, the only thing is we need to get this submitted fairly soon. So just
I'm just kind of
for example, wear comfortable clothing would be something that would be cardiac rehab relevant, or do not eat for 4 hours before your appointment, that kind of stuff for different clinics. Is there anything that you need for your clinic?
regarding this, like, right, I was just thinking now, and it comes to my mind, like, usually we are very, very hesitant to give the patients or leave voicemail for the patients with the clinic information, like the clinic name, like the general surgery clinic, due
Gotcha.
to the patient safe, like, like considering patient safety and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Because sometimes the patient's parent could pick that phone and they could find out the details of their treatment, which the patient wouldn't want their, sometimes they wouldn't want someone else to kind of
Yeah.
know that information.
Right.
So I was thinking maybe like I would discuss it with the nurse to kind of get rid of the phone call reminder then, or maybe like voicemail. Voicemail is something that we would, kind of get rid of.
Yeah.
But then I think about voicemail and the phone call. Like if we were to just give them an automated phone call, still someone from their family could pick up.
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
kind of a gray area that I would need to follow up with them.
Okay. Phone
Mm-hmm.
may need to go away. So you're going to take away this as a privacy matter and come back. We'll summarize. Raj and I will summarize the notes from this call about all the to be determines, and then hopefully we can have a lot of that answered before we get on another call. So we'll
Got
email
it.
you with all this stuff.
Yeah, it would be great if I could get like a to-do list of
Yeah,
the items for me to kind of get back to you guys.
definitely.
Good. What
And
I'm going to do
also,
is when I make the notes for today, I will make sure I put in there what things are to be still done, and we will highlight this specific space, because if it comes down to patient confidentiality and their threat to their life and so on and so forth, then I think you and your management and somebody else needs to make that decision on whether these appointment reminders need to go out in the first place, especially for this clinic. I'm just thinking out
exactly, yeah.
loud.
Yeah, so that can be mentioned in the to-do list. And also, I was hoping for you guys to get in touch with Amy and Colin and Haley regarding the Excel sheet that we were talking about.
Yeah, we will have a separate session. I'll send out a mail with a separate session for them as well. Like if we can have that, or send it out through mail, one of the other two, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was thinking, maybe we can just email them first, and then if they're okay with it, then we can just directly skip the session with them to save their time. Otherwise, we can, if they have any things to add, we can definitely arrange a session with them.
Sure.
Right.
And I just wanted to, before we go, can you confirm the next scheduling and next design session dates for
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, so the next one that's formalized is April 5th.
Yep. Okay,
April
got it.
5th is the next scheduling session.
Right.
This is scheduling. Sorry, I don't have ambulatories listed. Raj, do you have the ambulatory design session?
I'll just pull them up on the Excel. Give me 1 minute.
It's the design session is on the 29th of March.
29th March, and I am required to attend both of those, right?
Yes, please.
Right. So I have the next scheduling session listed here, next design session listed here. I'll wait for your 2 emails, one for Amy and Colin, and to follow up on that one. And then the other email, like with a to-do list for me, so that I can
Right.
get back to you guys.
Great.
And we'll touch base in the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll send out the notes and details as we get everything together.
Yes, and I
Michael,
would
anything
really
else
appreciate
before we close the call?
No, I just feel
Yes,
like we could have just kept talking for another 2-3 hours with all this knowledge.
Right, there's so much. Right?
Yes. If I just wanted to mention, guys, if you could include that green Excel sheet in there,
Yeah.
like in